Well, what we're going to be fishing over the next couple of days is a place called Pool 4 on the Mississippi. Many people call it Red Wing. It's one of the few places in the northern United States that you can actually fish year-round. There's a warm water discharge from a nuclear power plant in the pool above that keeps a 7-mile stretch of river open all through the year. It never freezes up. And especially if you go to a resort called Everett's, they keep the launches open and you can catch walleyes and saugers and lots of them. Over the next couple of days, I'm going to be fishing with a guy called Glenn Marshall. And I've known Glenn a lot of years, but I'm going to call him a pioneer. And to be called a pioneer in this day and age of walleye fishing, to figure out something new, is pretty special. But what Glenn has done is taken this 7-mile stretch of river, a stretch of river that's very heavily fished, and he's figured out a way to catch more and bigger fish. So join me and Glenn as we go out on the Pool 4 of the Mississippi and get you the next bite.
It's an earlier than usual start for the day, and the only thing up at this hour besides professional tournament angler Keith Kavajecz and longtime friend Glenn Marshall is the moon, still clinging to the horizon.
So where do you think we should go today, Glenn?
Bang, zoom, right to the moon, Alice, right to the moon.
He thinks he's Ralph Grandin now.
This wintry walleye river jigging trip is all about feel of the bottom, the line, the current, and most importantly, the feel of the bites, as Keith and Glenn begin dissecting the deeper water structures along the sandrock shorelines of Pool 4 on the Mississippi.
Just the latest little bite. Not even really a bite, more like just a mushy presence down there. I don't know why they're biting so light today. You'd think they'd be snapping a little harder.
Maybe we got a little front moving in. And
Here he comes.
that looks like a good one.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
You want the net?
No, look at how deep that jig is.
Yeah, that's the deepest light bite I've ever seen.
I thought it was a light bite. It was actually probably pretty heavy. Look at how he's got that knuckleball in there. But he picked it up off the bottom. You know, when the jig is gliding, you'll feel that bite, that tick.
Right.
When you're lifting up to move the jig, it's just kind of there. Presence. It's a presence. It's kind of a weird spot because it's just barely a little bit of a point there, you know. And they must be moving up on the down current side of that point. Can you hand me that pliers there?
Sure.
He wasn't going to get away, Glenn. Thank you.
There you go.
There it is. The cold weather walleye right there. It's almost Christmas. I guess we could call him a Christmas presents.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that'll work.
I'll put him back under the tree here for you. So Glenn and I started fishing kind of together back in the early 80s, I would say, wasn't it?
About 82,
Yeah,
83.
82, 83. We joined a walleye club together, and back then we used to do a lot of vertical jigging, didn't we?
That's about all we did.
You know, we've done a lot of shows on that where you work with the current and jig. I think it was about 10 years ago, I started to hear a lot about you starting to do a lot of this pitching of jigs.
Well, I kind of implemented the get away from the boat theory because it seemed to me back when we started doing it that planer boards were a big deal. So we kind of thought, well, let's get our jig out in the way.
So we're actually pitching away from the boat now. We're not fishing below the boat, but you're looking for a lot of different kind of spots, aren't you?
Absolutely. Towards this time of year, you're looking for more open water spots rather than just casting shoreline because the fish have moved down to the flat. So what you're looking for is basically variations in the bottom that receive current. It can be created by a wing dam, maybe out in the middle of the channel. It could be a little corner of a flat that the current has cut a little cup into.
Do you find that these fish are mainly upstream of those places, right in the cup, downstream of them?
Well, you know, actually I think they move in and out of them.
Okay.
I think they use them just as a feeding ground, maybe a laying area, especially in the wintertime.
So that's why you're using pitching, because if you just vertical jig through that, you wouldn't be finding those little tiny areas in that little bit bigger spot.
You know, most of the best spots are probably not much bigger than this boat.
Right.
And if you were to vertical jig over them, you'd get maybe one pump and you'd be done.
Right. So by holding the boat in the current, pitching into those spots and working them, you can take all different kinds of angles at them. You can concentrate on them.
You know, if things work out, you get a whole school of them and you take the whole school off the spot.
Obviously, we're pitching jigs here, trying to get our jigs right down on the bottom like always. One thing that you'll notice is a little bit different when you're pitching out in current like this is that you don't have to reel as much when you're pitching. And the reason for that is when you lift your rod tip, the jig picks up off the bottom, not only is it swimming it towards you, but the current is sweeping it. So you get swim and sweep. What's happening is a lot of your slack line is actually getting taken up by that sweep. So when you come out in the current and jig, don't feel like you gotta reel down every time when you're jigging. Lift your rod, let that jig swim and sweep, but a lot of times then just relift again, swim and sweep, and even relift again, swim and sweep. Keeps that jig close to the bottom, moving with the current, looking real natural to those fish.
Oh, there's one. It's a good one. That's pretty good. It really hit.
You want the net?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're gonna need the net. It's a nice fish.
Got enough of them small ones, I gotta make sure, you know.
Wow, it really hit.
Did it?
Hit hard.
Right out at the tip of that wing dam, huh?
Yep. It's decent. It's a big sauger.
Nice. Yeah, it's a sauger.
Oh yeah.
Very nice sauger.
Nice.
That's a good sauger.
Wow.
That's the kind of sauger we were after.
What a
Man.
sauger bite too.
Man, that's about almost 20 inches long, I'd say. 19, 20. And that's a good sauger. A lot of people don't realize that a sauger doesn't grow up to be as big as a walleye. A 19, 20-inch fish like this is actually a very big sauger.
Oh, yeah.
You can really tell this is a sauger. It's got what they call mottling on it, these kind of black blotchy spots.
Right.
And then the dots up on the dorsal up here, both of those things are just classic sauger looks.
That's a good looking fish.
Yeah, nice. And they usually bite harder, huh?
Oh yeah, they really smacked it.
Yeah, they're kind of a meanie down there.
Yeah.
But it makes it fun. A lot of times you come up to Red Wing and you can just catch a whole bunch of these during the day and then get that occasional walleye. Makes for a great day.
It's a nice fish.
It is. Now let somebody else catch this big guy.
There we go.
The real deal. Straight talk to make you a better fisherman. Brought to you by thenextbite.com.
One thing about fishing in the real cold weather like this is that sometimes the bites are a little bit harder to detect. Not only because the fish are biting light, but because quite frankly your hands are so cold. So you want to use real sensitive equipment, stuff that'll let you feel what that jig is doing. You always want to make sure you're right down on the bottom. So two things that'll help you there is first of all your rod. Both Glenn and I like to use about a 6-foot rod for this, whether you're pitching or you're vertical jigging. About a 6-foot rod is right. And then for line, I'm using crystal fire line. Glenn is actually just using flame green fire line. So I don't think the color matters so much, but I do think the no stretch characteristic of fire line helps you a lot. It's going to help you feel the bottom and help you feel that bites. As far as the color difference, I find that I can see this crystal real well, just like I can see that flame green real well. The key thing is to wear a good pair of sunglasses that'll help you pick that out, especially this time of year. It seems like with this lower sunlight, lower to the horizon, the line doesn't quite shine as much as other times of the year. So fire line in either flame green or crystal, some good sunglasses to see the line, high modulus graphite rod to feel those bites, and you're going to catch a lot of fish, even in the cold of winter.
Well, it looks like Keith Kavajecz and Glenn Marshall were right about a front moving in, as their second day out of Red Wing on the Mississippi River pitching jigs for walleyes brings with it gray skies and snow.
Icy walleye.
And although the power plant upriver keeps the waters warm for the walleye and sauger all year round, the same can't really be said for some of the equipment in the boat.
It's one of the problems you'll have when you're out here fishing in this real cold weather is obviously ice building up. I found the best method for cleaning that out is the inboard heater. Okay, there we go, perfect.
So while we now know that both sensitive and thawed equipment is important, what to look for in locations is the next step in breaking down what makes this pattern so special.
This time of year, the dam is one of the best places to maybe start, but there's a lot of water in this section of river. There's probably 7 or 8 miles of water. So you might want to look for little twists and turns in the channel itself. Points off the ends of islands have been real good to me. Maybe little indentations in some washboard style bottom. Start out vertical jigging. If you find by vertical jigging that you may be catching a fish in the same particular area, might be a good indication to stop and to hold up with your electric motor and to pitch a jig into that particular place. The good thing is this method is effective for the next several months, maybe into April or May. So the great thing is that you've got fall, winter, and spring for some real quality fishing on this end of the river.
I got one, Glenn.
Yeah. Nice one?
Ah, not too bad. Get the net, Glenn.
Okay.
I'll take the net. He ain't too bad, Glenn. He's really gotten down below the boat. Oh yeah, he's a nice walleye.
Okay. Oh.
Got him right in the nose.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a nice one, all right. Get him. Get him, Glenn. Nice. Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a good one. Boy, that chartreuse and green has been a good color, hasn't it?
It sure has. Nice fish.
Oh,
see that?
Ah, that was a nice catch.
Quite catch.
It's 2 catches for 1 fish. Well, kind of a cold day, but a hot bite out here.
Nothing wrong
Catching
with that.
fish. Nothing wrong with that.
There we go.
When you're out jig fishing, one of the key things that you have to do is make sure that this jig is down on the bottom. That's where the fish are living. We're fishing structure here, and they're going to be holding in that structure, so you kind of got to get that jig right down in there with them. So to make sure that jig is down on the bottom, I'll give you a couple hints. First of all, when you cast the jig out, you want to hold your rod nice and steady and just watch the line, because as the jig falls through the water column, the line will be tight. When it hits the bottom, all of a sudden your line will go slack or deflect a little. That's the indication that you are down on the bottom. One little thing that I do to help myself kind of watch for that deflection or know when it's going to happen is I actually count down my jig. That is, when it hits the surface of the water, I start counting. 1, 2, 3, and typically about the number of counts that you count out is the depth that it's going to be falling. So keeping track of that will give you a good indication of when that jig is getting to the bottom. Now, to feel the bottom real well, look at your jig weight size. The typical jig that I want to use out here is about 1/8 of an ounce, fairly light, but you'll find that if you get into places where there's a fair amount of wind or a fair amount of current, or you're casting particularly deep, that you might have to go to a heavier jig to see it hit the bottom and to feel the bottom after you start jigging. So I would say if you need to, especially when you're starting out, go to a little bit heavier jig, but I would say about 1/4 ounce is as big as you want to go for pitching a jig. You get much bigger than that, and it gets real hard for that fish to suck that jig into his mouth. Walleyes don't really bite, they suck the jig in. So the lighter jig you can use, the better off you're going to be.
Oh, this one's a good one.
Got one?
Oh yeah. Feels pretty nice.
Oh yeah. Looks like a nice rod bend.
Yeah, it's a nice fish.
Is it a walleye?
It is.
Nice walleye.
Good walleye.
Very good. All right, I'm ready. This way. Oh yeah.
There we go.
Perfect.
Just kind of snuck up on me.
Oh yeah, you switched colors on me, didn't you? Ooh, chartreuse and orange.
He didn't really knock on the
I think
door
you
at all.
kind of snuck up on me here, switching colors like that, huh? Knuckleball. What are you using there? Quarter ouncer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Pitching out to a little bit deeper. This spot here is a kind of a sand flat that dumps off into the deeper channel here. These fish are just hanging up on that sand flat. All right,
Barely hit it.
we'll put them back on the flat.
Keith Kavajecz and Glenn Marshall have caught some good-sized river fish, both walleye and sauger. But the sheer number of fish is the overall aspect of this December jigging excursion that keeps these 2 longtime friends reeling in the laughter.
Frozen cheeks, Marshall. We give till it hurts.
Right.
With the air temperatures never breaking 30 degrees,
But it is blowing, it is colding, it is windy. It is nasty. The fish will be biting though.
it can get difficult to perform the simplest of tasks, which is why designing your approach, no matter how small the detail, to complement your conditions is so important.
So I'm going to show you a great little knot, especially when it's cold out like this. Hands can get a little stiff. This is called a Palomar knot, and this works especially well with fire line. What I first do is double up my fire line and pass that right through the eye of the jig. Then you take and just simply make an overhand knot, same knot you use when you're tying your shoes. Tighten it right down to the jig. The nice thing about this is now that you can reposition your hands if you have to, or warm them up, then you simply pass your jig through that loop you made initially, pull on both tags, tighten up, and you're done. Clip off this tag and you're ready to go fishing. Fish.
Oh, hey.
Oh,
Nice one?
yeah, good fish. Feels really big, slow head shakes. Better grab the net.
Good. Looks good.
Boy, he's really staying down, Glenn. Usually the bigger the fish is, the more the head shake slows down.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
There he is, Glenn. Oh yeah, nice walleye. Nice walleye. All right. Very nice.
Oh, yeah. Nice fish.
I love how you net, you know that? Got him on that ripple shad.
I'll net him all day.
Let's see. Look at how he hit that kind of sideways. Huh. That's
First
kind of
color.
a cool little tail because it's real flexible, but that paddle, don't take nothing to just move that, and that thing is just swimming down below.
I like the graphics.
I do too. And it kind of got those cuts in there to make it even more contoured and looks realistic. Obviously it looked real to this guy.
A little too real.
Very nice.
Live bait or artificial, walleye or sauger, enough cannot be said about the uniqueness in the application of this take on jigging, as well as the size of the available portion of the river to use it on, at a time of year when most other fisheries are solid ice.
It's a good walleye. Oh boy. I tell you what, when you get to come to Red Wing at this time of year, actually from November right straight through the spring, you're going to just find tons of fish here. I mean, you want to catch big numbers, go out and vertical jig some of the channel edges. You want to try for some of the walleyes and bigger fish, then certainly pitching to small spots is the way to go. But I tell you what, anytime you can come, hot or cold, the fishing's always hot at Red Wing.
You got anything on my teeth?
No, you did.
Okay.
Glenn Marshall, new species.
He wants to have teeth.
Hit it pretty good, huh?
Oh, he just smacked it.
I got one, Glenn.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to the boat. Your host today is the FinTech Knuckleball.
Nice.
The Rip Shad strikes fear into the heart of the sauger. Somewhere over the rain.
At Everett's Resort, cookies are key. The better the cookie, the better the fishing information.
For clean, comfortable cabins, year-round Pool 4 access, and some of the most reliable fishing information available in the area, contact Dean Marshall of Everett's Resort at 715-792-2333 or email info@everettsfishingresort.com.